Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be tackling something that I know a lot of you out there are dealing with, especially if you're studying or working in a field where English is the main language, but you didn't grow up speaking it.
It's a really common challenge and one that I've seen firsthand, especially in EMI courses, English as a medium of instruction, where you're essentially learning everything in a language that's not your native tongue.
Right, like you're juggling two really big things at once, mastering the actual subject matter and doing it all in a language that might still feel a bit, well, foreign.
And for this deep dive, you've given us an amazing collection of resources that get right to the heart of the matter. How to use GenAI to boost English reading skills for students in those demanding EMI courses. We've got workshop materials, practical guides for students, even research articles. It's a lot to unpack, but we're going to pull out the most useful and insightful stuff for you.
Yeah, we're talking about concrete strategies that you can start using right away, not just vague ideas. So before we dive into all the cool Gen AI stuff, let's take a minute to talk about what reading really means in this context. It's not just about recognizing words, right?
Absolutely not. I mean, decoding the words on the page is just the very first step. What we're really talking about is reading comprehension, that deeper level of understanding where you're not just seeing words, but actually grasping the meaning, making connections, and ultimately thinking critically about the information.
And all of that is harder when you're doing it in a second language.
It definitely adds another layer of complexity.
And let's not forget how our reading habits in general are changing, even for native English speakers, with so much of our reading now happening on screens. Some of the research you provided actually points to some potential downsides there, doesn't it?
It does. While digital access to information is amazing, some studies are showing that the way we often read online, skimming, jumping around, getting distracted, it might actually making it harder to do that deep, focused reading that's so crucial for academic success.
So imagine trying to do that kind of deep reading when you're also grappling with the language itself.
It can be incredibly challenging, no doubt about it. And from all the materials you've provided, I'd say there are a few key hurdles that non-native English speakers often face in academic settings. First off, vocabulary gaps are a huge one. Hitting a bunch of unfamiliar words can really disrupt your flow and make it tough to get the overall gist of what you're reading.
And then you've got those long, winding sentences that academics love so much.
Exactly. Complex sentence structures, those are common in academic writing, and they can do a real headache to parse, especially under time pressure.
And I imagine cultural background knowledge plays a role too. Like, if you haven't grown up in a culture where certain concepts or historical events are just common knowledge, that can make understanding academic texts even trickier.
Absolutely. That lack of familiarity with cultural references can be a significant barrier. And then there's the issue of reading speed. Processing information in a second language just naturally takes more time, so that slower reading speed can make it hard to keep up with the workload.
And even when you understand the words and the sentences, actually forming your own critical analysis, like writing an essay or participating in a debate, that can be a whole other challenge in a language that isn't your first.
You're hitting all the key points. It's not easy, but there's a flip side to this too.
Right. The materials you provided also highlighted some surprising advantages that non-native English speakers can actually bring to the table when it comes to academic reading.
Yeah, there are some real strengths to consider. For one thing, engaging with academic texts in English can be a fantastic way to boost your overall language skills. You're constantly working with advanced vocabulary, grammar, and sentence structures, so your proficiency naturally grows.
It's like language immersion, but for a specific subject area.
Precisely. And because you're often having to really work to decode the meaning and make connections, your logical thinking skills can get sharper too. You might find yourself approaching problems from different angles, considering multiple perspectives.
I like that it's like a mental workout.
It is. Plus, you're exposed to a much wider range of global perspectives and ideas, which is invaluable in today's interconnected world. Ultimately, this whole experience can be a fantastic preparation for a more internationalized workplace where communicating effectively in English is often essential.
So we've talked about the challenges, but also some of the unexpected benefits. Now let's get to the exciting part, Gen AI and how it can help. Your materials were full of specific, practical ways students can use these tools to improve their understanding of academic texts.
And there are so many cool applications here. Let's start with one of the most fundamental but incredibly useful ones. Using GenAI to simplify complex sentences and explain unfamiliar vocabulary. Think of it as your first line of defense against those dense academic texts.
So, like, if you come across a sentence like, the pedagogical paradigm shift in contemporary educational methodologies reflects adaptive responses to rapid technological advancements, you're not just stuck staring at it in confusion.
Exactly. GenAI can take that intimidating sentence and rephrase it into something much clearer, like teaching methods are changing because of new technology.
Okay, so it's like having a built-in translator that makes those complicated academic sentences more accessible.
Exactly. It's all about getting to the core idea quickly. And then there's the vocabulary piece. GenAI can create subject-specific vocabulary lists, super helpful for EMI courses, but it goes beyond just definitions. It can actually give you example sentences that show you how to use those words in context.
So instead of just memorizing a definition, you're actually seeing how the word is used in a real-world setting.
Exactly. For instance, if you're studying economics, GenAI might give you something like inflation. Rising prices reduce purchasing power. Example, inflation hit 3% last year. That context makes the meaning much more concrete.
It makes it stick in your brain better. What about practicing how you might actually talk about the material in class?
GenAI can help with that too. You can use it to simulate classroom discussions. Imagine you're prepping for a seminar. You can ask GenAI to role play as the professor or a fellow student and ask you questions related to the readings. It's like having a practice run for those academic interactions.
It's like having a built-in debate partner. And I imagine with the sheer volume of reading that's often required in college courses, GenAI could be a lifesaver for just managing that workload.
Absolutely. Summarization and note-taking are key here. Let's say you've got a 20-page journal article to read. You can feed that into GenAI and ask it to pull out the main arguments or create a concise summary. It's like getting the Cliff's Notes version before you dive into the full text.
It can help you prioritize your reading time and focus on the most important parts.
Exactly. And then you can try paraphrasing that AI-generated summary in your own words. That's a great way to really solidify your understanding.
Okay, all of these applications sound super helpful, but I'm also thinking about the potential for over-reliance on GenAI. Your workshop materials were pretty clear about the importance of using these tools strategically and responsibly, right?
100%. The goal is to enhance your own learning, not to become completely dependent on AI. It's about finding that balance. Before you even start using GenAI, ask yourself, what specific reading challenge am I trying to solve? Be mindful of how much you're relying on it. It shouldn't be a crutch for every single task.
Right, it's a tool, not a replacement for your own brain.
And never, ever submit AI-generated work as your own. That's plagiarism, plain and simple. GenAI is for understanding and brainstorming, but your academic work needs to reflect your own thinking. And lastly, always take some time to reflect on what you've learned. Don't just blindly accept the AI's output. Go back to the original text and make sure you really get it.
That's really important advice. Now, for a lot of non-native English speakers, especially those who are familiar with Chinese, having bilingual support can make a huge difference. Your materials highlighted several GenAI tools that are particularly good at creating bilingual notes.
Yeah, this is a huge advantage for many learners. ChatGPT, which we've already mentioned, is quite versatile and can handle bilingual summaries and notes in various formats. You just need to give it clear instructions like "Shikas hayiz un dutin shulie," which means generate bilingual Chinese-English notes with a Chinese translation after each English paragraph.
So you can basically tell it what you need in Chinese and it'll understand.
Exactly. Another great option is Google Gemini, which works similarly to ChatGPT, but has the added bonus of being integrated with Google Docs. Super convenient for study notes.
That makes sense. What about Notion AI?
Notion AI is really strong for creating structured bilingual notes, which is ideal if you like organizing your notes in a database format.
Oh, that's great for those of us who love a good spreadsheet.
Right, and if you're dealing with lectures or other spoken content, Otter.ai is a fantastic tool. It specializes in audio transcription, so you can record a lecture and get a text transcript. Then you can feed that transcript into ChatGPT or Gemini and have it generate those bilingual notes.
So you're basically creating a multi-step process to get what you need. Are there any other tools we should know about?
Microsoft Copilot, which is part of Microsoft 365, is another really powerful option. It lets you translate and format your notes right within applications like Word or OneNote.
So many choices. It seems like the process for using these tools to create bilingual notes is pretty straightforward, though.
It is. You start with your English language materials, whether that's lecture notes, readings, or anything else. Then you pick the GenAI tool that best suits your needs. The key is to give the tool clear and specific instructions, like the Chinese phrase we mentioned earlier. Finally, always review the output. Make sure the translation is accurate, especially for technical terms, and adjust the formatting as needed.
That's really helpful. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how GenAI can be used to develop more advanced reading skills. We're talking vocabulary acquisition, critical thinking, even understanding different cultural contexts. Let's start with vocabulary. How can AI help us learn new words more effectively than traditional methods?
Traditional vocabulary learning can be kind of dry, just memorizing lists of words and definitions. AI offers a much richer approach. AI-powered word explanations go beyond simple definitions. They can give you context, show you how the word is used in sentences, provide synonyms, even visual aids to help you remember.
So it's about seeing the word in action, not just as a standalone concept.
Right. Let's say you're trying to learn the word meticulous. An AI tool might give you a definition like showing great attention to detail, but then it might also give you an example sentence like, the surgeon was meticulous in her work, ensuring every stitch was perfect. And it might offer synonyms like precise, thorough, or exact.
That paints a much clearer picture of the word's meaning and how it's used.
And to take it a step further, there are AI-powered flashcard apps that can personalize your vocabulary learning. They track your progress, figure out which word you're struggling with, and adjust your practice accordingly. It's like having a personalized vocabulary tutor.
Now, how about overall reading comprehension? How does GenAI go beyond just defining words to help with understanding the bigger picture?
Well, we've talked about summarization and paraphrasing, which are definitely key for comprehension. But AI can also generate different types of comprehension questions, moving beyond simple recall questions to more challenging ones that require you to infer meaning or analyze the text critically.
So it's not just about remembering facts, it's about really engaging with the ideas.
Exactly. And then there are these really cool interactive reading assistants, which are basically AI chatbots that can have discussions with you about specific passages. They can answer your questions, clarify confusing points, and even challenge your interpretations.
It's like having a study buddy who's always available and super knowledgeable about the topic.
And speaking of challenging interpretations, AI can also be a great tool for boosting critical thinking and analytical skills. One really interesting application is AI-assisted discourse analysis. You can input a text, and the AI can help you break down the arguments, identify the rhetorical strategies being used, even point out potential biases.
So it helps you see the structure of the argument and understand how the author is trying to persuade you.
Exactly. And for comparative reading, AI can suggest different articles or perspectives on the same topic, which is fantastic for getting a more well-rounded understanding. It can even compare arguments side by side, helping you see the different viewpoints and evidence being presented.
And your materials also mentioned personalized and adaptive reading support.
Yes. This is where AI can really tailor the learning experience to your specific needs. Imagine a tool that can adjust the difficulty of a text based on your current reading level. It could rephrase complex passages into simpler language, or, as you get more advanced, present more challenging material.
That's pretty amazing. What about using AI in more gamified learning platforms?
There are some really cool platforms out there that use AI to track your progress, suggest new readings, and even create interactive quizzes and challenges. They're designed to make learning more engaging and fun.
Okay, last but not least, how can GenAI help with understanding the cultural context of academic texts, which can be a big hurdle for non-native speakers?
Think of AI as your cultural decoder ring. It can explain idioms, historical references, and any other cultural nuances that you might not be familiar with.
So if a text is using a lot of American slang or making references to British history, GenAI can help bridge those gaps.
Exactly. It can even draw comparisons between different cultures, which can help you understand the text on a deeper level. And of course, translation features can be incredibly helpful for clarifying specific words or phrases and for getting a sense of the overall tone and style of the original language.
So it's about more than just understanding the literal words. It's about understanding the cultural context that gives those words meaning.
Precisely. And to make all of this even more concrete, your materials included a really practical example, a reading skills enhancement worksheet focused on the topic of strategic management of multinational corporations.
Yeah, this worksheet is a fantastic way to see how these GenAI techniques can be applied in a real-world academic setting. Can you give us a quick overview of how it works?
Absolutely. The worksheet is designed around 5 key tasks. The first is AI-powered word explanation, where you identify unfamiliar business terms in a text, things like foreign direct investment, global value chains, or institutional voids, and then you use GenAI to understand their definitions and how they're used in a business context.
So you're basically building your business vocabulary with the help of AI.
Right. The second task is AI summarization and paraphrasing, where you use AI to summarize articles on strategic management themes and then try to rewrite those summaries in your own words. This helps you make sure you've really grasped the main points.
It reinforces both your comprehension and your writing skills. What's the third task?
Task 3 is AI-generated discussion questions. Here, you use AI to come up with questions related to multinational strategies, drawing on both the text you're reading and relevant business theories. For example, you might ask the AI to generate questions based on Porter's diamond model, which analyzes national competitive advantage, or the CAGE framework, which looks at differences between countries.
So you're using AI to help you formulate those deeper, more analytical questions that are so important in academic discussion.
Exactly. Task 4 is AI-adjusted reading difficulty, where you take a complex paragraph from a text on multinational strategy and use AI to both simplify it, making it easier to understand, and then also to make it more complex, using more advanced vocabulary and sentence structure.
That's a clever way to see how the same ideas can be expressed at different levels of sophistication.
And finally, task 5 is AI-explained cultural context. Here, you analyze a cultural or regulatory issue that comes up in the reading and use AI to explain its significance, and then you compare how that same issue might play out differently in other countries.
It sounds like a really engaging and practical way to apply all of these Gen AI tools. Now, underpinning all of these practical applications is a solid body of research, right? Your sources included a lot of academic citations.
Yes, it's not just anecdotal evidence. There's a growing body of research that supports the challenges non-native English speakers face and highlights the potential of AI as an effective tool.
Can you give us a quick rundown of some of the key findings from that research?
For sure. Studies by Naden in 2006 and Schmidt and others in 2011 emphasize just how important vocabulary size is for reading comprehension. They suggest that you need to know around 98% of the words in a text to really understand it well, which is a huge challenge for non-native speakers.
It really underscores the scale of the vocabulary hurdle. What about grammar?
Research by Grabe in 2009 and a big meta-analysis by Jian and Yamashita in 2014 found a strong link between grammar knowledge and reading comprehension. They estimated a correlation of about 0.5, which means there's a pretty significant connection between understanding grammar and being able to understand what you read.
And we talked about the importance of cultural background knowledge. Is that supported by research as well?
Oh, absolutely. Carell and Eisterhold's work on schema theory in 1983 highlights how much our existing knowledge influences our understanding of new information. And research by Urton and Razi in 2009 showed that providing learners with relevant background information before they read can increase their comprehension by about 25%. That's a big difference.
It's amazing how much those pre-existing frameworks in our minds affect how we process new information.
Right. And speaking of how we process information, there's also been some interesting research comparing reading on paper versus reading on screens.
Right. Some of your sources touched on that.
Yeah, so studies like the one by Mangan and others in 2013 suggest that reading on paper might actually be better for long-term memory and deeper understanding. It could be because of things like spatial memory, remembering where information was on the page, or just the physicality of interacting with a book.
It's interesting to think about how the medium itself might affect how we absorb information.
Right, and a meta-analysis by Delgado and others in 2018 suggested that comprehension scores might be about 6 to 8% lower when reading on screens compared to paper, especially for tasks that require deeper processing. Not a huge difference, but still something to consider.
Definitely. Now, what about the research on actively using reading strategies?
Athlerbach and others did some great work in 2008, emphasizing the importance of teaching and using effective reading strategies. It's not just about basic decoding skills, it's about being deliberate and strategic in how you approach a text.
So it's about being an active reader, not a passive one.
Exactly. And research by Presley and Gaskins in 2006 showed that explicitly teaching strategic reading techniques can lead to improvements in comprehension in the range of 15–20%. That's a pretty significant boost.
So there's real evidence that these strategies work.
Absolutely. Now, research on using AI specifically for reading is still in its early stages, but it's a rapidly growing field.
It's exciting to see where this research is going. What have we learned so far?
Well, studies like Tsai and Gao's work in 2023 have shown that AI can be really helpful for learners who are struggling with complex vocabulary and grammar, especially in more technical or specialized subjects.
So for those really dense academic texts, AI can be a game changer.
And research by Gao and others, which is expected to be published in 2024, has found that giving learners instant AI-powered definitions of unfamiliar words while they're reading can increase their comprehension scores by around 12%.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. So it seems like the research is really starting to validate the potential of AI in this area.
It really is, and it's all coming together to paint a really clear picture of both the challenges that non-native English speakers face and the incredible opportunities that AI offers to overcome those challenges and really excel.
Okay, as we wrap things up here, what would you say is the single most important takeaway for someone who's listening and thinking, okay, I want to try using GenAI to improve my English reading skills?
I'd say the biggest takeaway is that GenAI offers an incredibly versatile and powerful set of tools that can truly transform how you learn and engage with English texts. It can help you with everything from basic vocabulary and sentence structure to those higher-level critical thinking skills and understanding cultural nuances. It's a toolbox that can help you unlock a whole new level of understanding and success in EMI courses.
It's like having a super-powered study partner who could tailor their assistance to your exact needs.
That's a great way to put it, but as we've discussed, it's all about finding that balance using AI to enhance your learning without becoming overly reliant on it. Think of it as a powerful ally, not a replacement for your own effort and intellectual curiosity.
That's such a crucial distinction to keep in mind. Well, this has been a fantastic deep dive into the world of GenAI and its potential for non-native English speakers. To leave you with a final thought, I want to encourage you to think beyond just your own learning or teaching. How could these GenAI strategies be applied to the way we all navigate the massive amount of information we encounter every day, and how we grapple with complex ideas in any field? What does the future hold for AI-assisted learning, and how will reading itself continue to evolve in this increasingly digital age? It's something to ponder as we all move forward in this exciting but ever-changing landscape. Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.